So I honestly felt like this was one of the best episodes of season 4 because there were so many developments, like a crazy amount, more than we have seen in any other episode. So I was wondering what you think about it. Thumbs up if you also thought this was one of the best episodes, and if not, let me know what's been your favorite one so far. So I was happy that Beth played a role in this episode because I didn't even realize how much I liked her until the very first episode of season 4 because we really didn't know much about her, and I'm still really curious about her death. And I mean, I guess it was a suicide, but I'm wondering if they will show us what led up to the day that she walked in front of the train at the subway station. So I'm kind of hoping we will get that perspective this season. But we find out that she knew a lot. Like, honestly, I think she knew more about everything that was going on than any of her sisters. And she pretty much thought that Susan was behind all of this, and that's kind of what we were thinking at the beginning of this episode. But Evie was leading her to believe this, and well, she pretty much almost killed Susan, but thankfully she didn't. So I was kind of wondering, can we trust Susan, can we not? And I've always looked at Susan as a villain, but after this episode, my opinion of her has changed, and I would like to know if yours has too. So Crystal cracks me up. She's really cool. I really like this character, but she's really ditzy, and honestly I gave her too much credit last week because I thought she had really figured a lot of stuff out because she showed up at Brightborn, and I was like, wow, this girl's really investigating, and she's kind of like her sisters and she knows what's up. But when Art was questioning her, it became really obvious that she has no idea what's going on, and she thinks it's some kind of conspiracy with beauty companies. And just like when she thought that one of them was, or that, I forgot what Art asked her, something to do with Dyad, Neolution, I think, and she thought that that was like an eyeliner brand, and she loves her eyeliner. I can't even remember which one he asked her, so if I'm wrong, let me know down below, but it was just really funny, and I love when Tatiana gets to play like a quirky, funny clone because I kind of like her best in those roles. But yeah, so sadly, I mean, this was one of the sadder episodes that probably we've seen in the series, and Kendall, who is Mrs. S's mom, we know that she has cancer, but they were kind of hoping to find a cure for her, and actually she was such a huge, she could have been such a huge help to Cosima and everyone because they were going to kind of investigate her blood cells to see if they could eradicate her cancer and then also find a cure for Cosima. And they had really come a long way in their research, and sadly something goes really wrong a little bit later in the episode. So one good thing that Evie Cho did though is that she actually finally was able to remove the worm in Sarah's cheek. And when they were doing it, she was like, oh my gosh, it's getting ready to rupture. But like I've always said, I did not think they would kill off Sarah. She's pretty much the main clone of all the clones. So I wasn't that nervous when she was removing it. It was funny how it looked massively large in her cheek, but when she pulled it out, it was like the tiniest worm. Anyway, all of that creeps me out, and I'm so glad that Sarah no longer has the worm. So, but Sarah realizes something is up with what they're trying to do as far as finding a cure for this cancer and trying to find a cure for Cosima, because she sees some things. I think it's like something was going up. She realizes something is wrong. So she comes in and like destroys some of the test samples that they've been working on. Everyone's like freaking out, but it turns out that Kendall had been kidnapped, and who was behind it is this guy who we've just discovered this season is a serious villain, and this is the mole from the police department, and I don't even know his name, and they've probably said it, but I don't remember, so let me know down below if you remember. But basically, he's mega evil, maybe more evil than Dr. Leaky. There's just always so many villains in this series, and new villains, you know, and maybe they've been around for a while, we just didn't know. But he has kidnapped Kendall, and they also have Cosima, and it's just not good. And that's when we learn that Evie Cho is actually a mega villain, and for some reason she wants all of this to go away, but I don't really know what her motive is. Do you guys know what her motive is? Because she wanted to take control, and she wanted Susan to be dead so she would be the main person behind of all this, and I guess she wants to destroy all of the clones, I guess, but I'm not really sure, so let me know what you think about that as well. I love how you guys can help me figure things out on this show. So something that I don't really believe is Evie tells Cosima that Delphine is dead. Now, I've always thought that she was alive, and I still kind of think that Evie is lying. So what do you guys think about that? Thumbs up if you think there is hope that Delphine is alive. So the Castor twin is like freaking out, or clone, I always call him a twin, but he is very concerned about all these different tests that are going on, and he tries to OD, but I think he's going to live, so we'll have to see, because I think Sarah got to him in time. But I guess well, without a doubt, the saddest part of this episode is that because Kendall was so important to all their testing to find cures and everything, the mole ended up shooting and killing her, which was really, really sad. And Delphine, or not, I keep wanting to say Delphine, Cosimo was very, very, very upset with this and the news that Delphine was dead. And it was awful that Sarah had to kind of tell, with her expression, tell Mrs. S that her mom had been killed. So that was just really, 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 really sad. So, but here's the one thing though. They also blew up like this SUV or van or whatever that they kidnapped Kendall in, and they put like this thing of samples in there. So they think that they've, you know, solved all the problems. Like, I guess there's not going to be a chance for any more clones or anything. But if you remember, I guess it was last week's episode, Helena buried her samples. So that should come back into play. So it's not like we've lost everything at this point. So, but guys, let me know what you thought about this episode and help me fill in some of the blanks or things that I might not have mentioned or connected that you've connected. I always have felt like this is one of the more in-depth shows, and I think it would be so hard for someone to start watching like right now in season 4 and understand anything, because you really have to pay attention to every episode from all of the other seasons. Like, I just feel like it's not, you know, one of those shows where you can be listening to Spotify and eating pizza and watching and then try to explain it to someone. At least that's how I feel. But I enjoy that. Like, I like intelligent shows, and this is definitely one of them, and it's so well thought out. So I'm really loving this season, and I would love to know all your thoughts. I reply to all comments, and I'm covering the entire season 4 of Orphan Black. So if you just stumbled upon this video, I would love for you to thumbs it up and subscribe so that you can be with me for the rest of the journey. I also cover pretty much all mystery shows, so maybe you watch some of the other shows that I cover. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Kelly TV. I'll see you next time.